Picture this. You finally get the thing you chased for years. The deal closes, the rival folds, the map turns your color. You win so hard, history has to resize its font. And then, you don't feel like a winner. You feel hollow, like you just swallowed a trophy and it's stuck sideways in your soul. That feeling has a name in modern life. Success with a side of regret. But in the ancient world, one man put that feeling on stone, literally carved it into rock, after a war so brutal it changed his inner weather forever. Today, Ashoka, the conqueror who won and realized he was losing himself. Also, imagine having the budget to do therapy by commissioning nationwide rock inscriptions, because that's basically what happened. We're going deep. Politics, psychology, propaganda, faith, and that weird moment when your conscience finally catches up with your calendar. But I'll keep a clear trail so nobody gets lost in the jungle. Episode 1. The Engine of Empire. To understand the turn, you have to understand the momentum. Ashoka ruled the Mauryan Empire, a machine state for its time. Roads, officials, taxation, armies, administration. Think ancient bureaucracy with sharpened edges. One of the largest political units in South Asia. And Ashoka doesn't inherit a hobby. He inherits a system built to expand. And empires don't ask, how do I feel? Empires ask, how far does the border go? There was one region that mattered a lot on that map. Kalinga. Strategic, coastal, and famously resistant. Now, here's the first truth bomb. The temptation of power is not the power itself. It's the story power tells you. Power whispers, just one more conquest and you'll finally be safe. Just one more win and they'll finally respect you. Just one more expansion and the fear will stop. And the tragedy is, you can actually believe it, while your soul quietly goes into debt. Then comes the war. And that brings us to the war that broke the spell. Episode 2. The war that broke the spell. Ashoka fights the war that becomes his turning point, often dated around 261 BCE and described by Ashoka himself as occurring in the 8th year after his coronation. And then comes the part that hits like a cold bucket of truth. In what's known as Major Rock Edict 13, Ashoka describes the human cost. 150,000 deported, 100,000 killed, and many more dying afterward from other causes. That is not a statistic. That's a graveyard disguised as a sentence. And then Ashoka does something rulers almost never do in public. He admits remorse. Not PR remorse, not the sorry if you misunderstood my conquest remorse, but the raw moral recoil, the kind where your victory suddenly tastes like iron. A translation tradition puts it bluntly. He feels deep remorse for conquering Kalinga. Imagine your resume says skills, strategy, logistics, conquest. Weakness, conscience activated mid-game. That's Ashoka's crisis. The conscience arrives late, but it arrives loud. Episode 3. The most dangerous moment, when you see yourself. Here's the rabbit hole, and here's the trail. Trail marker number 1. Victory can be a mirror. We think guilt is just feeling bad, but historically, guilt is often the moment you finally see what you've become. Ashoka isn't just reacting to suffering out there, he's reacting to a sentence forming inside him. If I can do this, what else can I become? That thought is terrifying, because it means the enemy isn't outside anymore. The enemy is the part of you that can justify anything. Trail marker number 2. he changes the definition of conquest. Ashoka pivots publicly towards Dhamma, often understood as moral law, ethical conduct, and he frames a new kind of victory: persuasion, welfare, non-injury, restraint. And he doesn't just think it, he broadcasts it. He carves it into rock and pillars across a massive geography. Ancient kings built palaces. Ashoka built notifications. Not on phones, on boulders. Bridge. But the change wasn't instant. And here's what makes this psychologically real. The shift doesn't look like a lightning bolt. It looks like a process. Episode 4. I've been a lay Buddhist. The change was a process. In a minor rock inscription, one translation tradition, Ashoka describes himself as a Buddhist layman for more than 2.5 years and admits that for a time he did not make much progress. Then later he draws closer and becomes more ardent. That's psychologically honest, because real change usually isn't a movie montage. It's messy, uneven, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and then a strange day where the old appetite just dies. And it matters that he admits slow growth. That's a ruler telling the public, I'm not pretending I woke up holy. I'm telling you transformation is work. Episode 5. The Edicts as a Public Covenant. Now the deeper question, was Ashoka sincere or strategic? Answer, probably both, because even when remorse is genuine, a ruler still has to govern. So Ashoka does something brilliant. He turns private conviction into public policy. He speaks about governance, moral conduct, officials tasked with promoting this ethical program. And the messaging goes wide, so wide that inscriptions appear in multiple regions, including traditions of bilingual inscriptions further northwest. He even references a world beyond India, naming Greek rulers in the horizon of his moral diplomacy, as preserved in scholarly and epigraphic discussions of the edicts. Translation: Ashoka basically says, "Dear international community, I'm on a new vibe now." But here's the real point. He's trying to replace fear-based control with legitimacy-based rule, a moral order that can outlive the sword. Episode 6. The Symbol That Outlived Him. And history loves this twist. Ashoka's most famous physical legacy isn't a battlefield monument. It's a symbol associated with moral law, most famously the lion capital at Sarnath, which later inspired India's national emblem. So the Conqueror becomes remembered not for conquest, but for the public language of ethics. That doesn't erase what happened, but it shows what he tried to build afterward. A governance story not fueled by domination alone. Episode 7. The hero wins and still loses himself. We love stories where the hero struggles, wins, and the credits roll. But Ashoka's arc is rarer, and honestly more human. He wins, and the win turns on him, because the prize reveals a cost he didn't price in. That's timeless, because it's not just about kings, it's about anyone who has ever chased a goal hard enough to become dangerous to themselves. The entrepreneur who scales fast and realizes they don't recognize their ethics anymore. The politician who wins the game and discovers the game ate their personality. The person who gets revenge and finds it tastes like ash. Yes, Ashoka. The pun writes itself. History sometimes has jokes. Episode 8. I got what I wanted. Why do I feel empty? If you've ever asked that question, you're not broken, you're awake. Here are 3 modern takeaways. Clean trail, no fog. 1. The goal you chase becomes the God you serve. If the goal is win at all costs, the cost will arrive and send an invoice. 2. Guilt is not weakness. Guilt is information. It's your moral nervous system telling you something in you is being damaged.
Ignore it long enough, and you don't become stronger, you become numb. 3. Real change requires public structure, not private feelings. Ashoka didn't just feel bad, he tried to rewrite the operating system. Values, officials, messaging, practice. That's the difference between guilt that fades and repentance that builds. The one that haunts winners. Ashoka's story leaves one haunting question. When you finally get what you want, who will you be standing there as? Because you can conquer the world and still lose your soul in the process. And if you've already felt that emptiness, maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning of your own edict. Not carved into stone, but carved into your decisions. If this hit you, comment, "What victory cost me?" and finish the sentence. And if you want the next episode in this theme, stories where power collides with conscience, subscribe. We're going deeper.